Okay, so welcome to the Tech and Culture Speaker Series. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm currently the Economic Inclusion Fellow at Center State CEO, and I also will be moderating tonight's event. Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you thank you to JP Morgan Chase Advancing Cities for sponsoring this event and sponsoring all of the work that we're doing around trying to diversify the technology industry here in Central New York. This work wouldn't be possible without the funding that we received from JP Morgan Chase and also the support that we received. So honestly, just want to say thank you to the funding that we received from this organization. I also want to go over a few quick housekeeping rules before we get started. So please remain mute until we get towards the end of the event, where you can come off mute and ask questions to our amazing speaker. The chat is open for comments and questions that you may have during the event. But again, we want to wait till the Q&A is over before you come off mute and ask those questions. This event is currently being recorded and will be made public on the Generation Next social media page, as well as the Center State CEO pages. So, if you like the event, thought it was very entertaining, you can forward it to, your friends, your colleagues, and just spread the word around what's going on. And lastly, there will be a survey at the end, a short survey, about 3 minutes, where you can, provide feedback based on everything you heard today and help us try to incorporate your ideas into our future programming and events. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our amazing speaker, Nasiah Johnson. I call him Nas because we got pretty cool over the last couple months. He's a system engineer at Lockheed Martin currently, and he's also doing a lot of work within the community on the philanthropy side. So very excited to hear a little bit more about his story and his journey throughout the technology industry. And here's some great tips from him. So Nas, before we get started, is there anything that you would like to say to our audience?
No, I just want to say thank you for everybody that came out, especially a lot of the people I sent personal invites to. Thank you for the support. It means a lot.
Awesome. Okay, so we can get started. The first question that I would like to ask you, Nas, is can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, not yet on the professional side of things, but more from a personal level?
So my name is Nasiah Johnson. I come from Brooklyn, specifically Brownsville, New York. Went to the city schools, from elementary, middle school, high school. The middle school I went to was in my neighborhood. The middle school I went to was like a specialized middle school. So it was like a unique experience going from like elementary to middle school, because I was able to be surrounded by a lot of other like Black kids and Hispanic kids who was like as equally as smart as me. So, growing up, it was like school was kind of trivial, like first grade to fifth grade. And it was just like, I never understood like why I had so much like, insight to things, and things came quicker to me. But then going to middle school, I realized it was like, okay, these other kids have these same abilities as I do. But even with like the middle school, I was able to become like one of the top kids even in that environment. So unfortunately, I did not score high enough on my English portion in the 7th grade, and all the dream schools or the top schools that I had going into high school, I was not selected for. And the high school I went to was a vocational high school, essentially in the hood as well, in East New York specifically. And that was like that was a different environment, going from like the middle school for the gifted and talented kids to high school. It was like, I remember the first day I was looking at this guy too long, staring, and my man's, he cursed me out, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, I had to really, adjust. And, the first week, freshman Friday, gonna beat you up, So it's like I had to tighten up on that end. But even so, like I rose to become like salutatorian. And it was like crazy, because it's crazy how things happen. Like, even though I was really upset going to that high school and I thought like I didn't get into my top choices, I still was able to get opportunities based off of that. And from that moment, I was able to go to University at Buffalo. I had a few scholarships, about like 4. So that made my cost of attendance cheaper and less stressful on my mom. I followed the guidance, like the plan from my guidance counselor in terms of being a regular student, have fun first 2 years, And then in my junior year, senior year, she said become an RA, and I didn't have to pay for school. So that was like a blessing, on all ends. And I just think that like giving back and sharing my story and my journey and like certain like tips and certain things that was unique to me could hopefully help others and inspire them. So like, just a kid from Brooklyn. Now I'm upstate New York because I see opportunity. Like, so that's it so far.
Love it, man. Super interesting story. What gave you the mindset that you currently have now? Because of course, knowing you and having these conversations, you're extremely motivated. You know what you want to do. But what gave you that mindset growing up in that environment in Brooklyn?
Honestly, it was my mom. She already knows. She was like, we may live in Brownsville because Brownsville is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be lingering around too long. So, go to school, come home. Feel me? So it was just like, her like just embracing, like just like telling me like, look, this may be our environment we live in, but like just like letting me know that like you could be anything you want, and like them positive affirmations, and like even like being able to ask questions, and like made me feel okay to ask questions. I think that was the big key, because I ask questions. Everybody know, like, that know me, when I'm in environments, I ask a ton of questions because I was made comfortable young. And I could just see like if I didn't, have that comfort, that I would have been not getting certain opportunities or getting certain information that I needed, because, you know, but also I would say like just trying to figure out why things happen and how to achieve them, because I know things take steps and I don't let the steps like discourage me. Like everything is a process and you just follow the process. And if you get stuck, you just seek help. So I think that's the root on what made me like.
Well said. Very well said. So you touched on you decided to go to University of Buffalo after high school. Tell me a little bit about your experience at the university.
I think at UB was amazing. Like honestly, that was my first time ever engaging with like white like teenagers, like peers of the same level, and like just Indian folks and like Asian folks. Like coming from transit, it was mostly Hispanic, Caribbean, and Black people. And like it was like really interesting because all of these like I don't know notions that like media society put out there as if we are really different individuals living different lives. When I spoke to a lot of the people and I asked them how they was, their upbringing, it was very similar to mine. They like Yu-Gi-Oh, they like Pokemon, you know what I'm saying? They played basketball, they played Call of Duty, everything that I played, everything that I did. So I realized from then that, yo, like this is, and I'm a people person. So I was just seeking out, trying to meet everybody, you know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like coming into University of Buffalo with the ACRS program. So ACRS was specifically for people that made 65,000 minimum and like clipped that 120. You could have either been of minority descent or you could have been like the first person to go to college. So a lot of people fit in that bracket, and you needed to have like a 1200 combined reading and math SAT score. I had a 1210. You needed to have like a minimum 90 GPA. I had a 91. So it's just crazy how like a lot of like things aligned, because if I had a 91 GPA in Brooklyn Tech, that was like kind of like the specialized high school, I would have been 102. But me having a 91 GPA and, Transit Tech, that gave me the opportunity to become an ACRA scholar. So in that program, I was given so many tools, like the mindset thing about classes, right? So you have prereqs in your freshman year. If you get a C, some people be like, oh no, that's not for me, let me change. I've seen many people change because of that, right? But when I got a C in physics, I said, I know this is just a prereq. This is not going to be the end of it. And that's because I had that coaching prior. Also, I had access to tutoring, which was free, which was like specifically for us, and like EOP as well and other programs. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like having that support system from the jump And for people to like really coach us through it and have other people that was seniors and sophomores and juniors come talk to us, it gave us the scoop. So it was just really like amazing to like have it. And it's just crazy. Like one thing like leads to another.
100%. Now, what exactly did you study? What was your major at the university?
It was electrical engineering.
Electrical engineer. Okay, what made you decide to choose that major?
It's crazy. It's like it's because of my dad. Um, I remember one day I went with him because he's an electrician. And I remember like going on a job with him and I was in the kitchen like all day. He was wiring the kitchen up and I was just looking at him like, yo, you are so cool. I want to do that. Like, Dad, I want to be an electrician. My man, he took a knee, looked me in my eye, and was like, nah, you need to be an electrical engineer. And I was like, no, I want to be an electrician. But then, like, as we was walking home, he was explaining, like, being an electrical engineer, you could use more of this instead of your body. And he's seen people, like, get hurt, electrocuted, falling off ladders when he's 70 years old, hunchback. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want that for me. So as I grew up, and I realized, like, I started to realize what an electrical engineer was, it started to align with what I wanted to do. Like, I knew that it came, like, easy, like, in terms of like the vocational high school I went to, my specialty was electrical wiring. So I was able to do all the projects and stuff fairly simple. So I was like, okay, this is cool, but I want to start designing. So that was like the spark of it. And then I started to like embody it myself.
I think you just said two things that were super important. You first said your mom, you attribute her to a lot of your success because of the positive affirmations that she put into you. And then you said your father, put that same thing into you, told you, you want to be a electrical engineer. He just gave you those good tips, like having parents, and even if it's not parents, having people in your life that can kind of just mold you and point you in that right direction is really life-changing, and you're evidence of that. So if us as a community, Black and Brown, if we can, find more individuals or have these role models or parents that can put more of those affirmations into us, we'll be better off as a community. So I think you just said something that's very important. I truly appreciate it.
I would like to add to what you were saying is like also like listening too. Like, I don't know, I think growing up around like my grandparents as well, and like, I have a little cousin, like her name is Geneva. And like I remember when we would be like sitting with the adults and everything, and she would be interjecting, you feel me? So she got, like chastised and was like, yo, they ain't to give plays, but I used to be smart and I used to listen, you know what I'm saying? Like in terms of like just knowing how to like see what, I don't know, just how beneficial people words are. And they not saying this because they don't want good for you. They saying this because they want better for you. So I accepted those like words and everything. And like I feel like that's like another key point, like really listening.
100% agree. So from our prior conversations and the work that you do in the community, it's clear that you have a passion for supporting, individuals interested in getting into a technology field or anything that they're interested in. So what kind of drives that passion for you to help underrepresented groups and underestimated groups and people in tech?
Honestly, like working at Lockheed and getting the salary that I'm getting and understanding that I only put in 4 years of college and I was able to like essentially be middle class instantly. You know what I'm saying? I just see that like, yo, like, in terms of like the issues within our community, my thesis is it's the economic one, right? I feel like if you have people making 70,000, 60,000, 80,000, after they go to college and doing what they got to do, I think that's going to change a person's mindset, like especially I remember talking to Dakir and, his situation in terms of like instability and like having so many siblings and like the money can't stretch so far. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you have like kids wanting to go into this like this field, and you can get the jobs to, like, at least, I don't know, have a base, a foundation, some type of, like, I don't know, so you're not in survival mode. I think it would help clear your mind so that you can think about other things like getting property, investing, and these things that we miss out on because we in a survival mindset. Like, you can't go to nobody and say, yo, invest into stocks. The market is down right now. This is a perfect time when they thinking about how I'm gonna eat, how the rent going to be paid. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one, like economic. And I think that we can, like, kind of, I guess, get back, like, like raise our economic status with that. And I would say too is that I feel like I remember in elementary school, right? A lot of people sucked at math, and they just like embrace, like, I suck at math, when it was just an issue of having some tutor, some more time, a parent, mentor, teacher, just sitting more and coaching them through, like, yo, this is how you do the math, where they don't have that thought. And you could just tell from middle school to high school, they just embrace that identity. You know what I'm saying? When we need to correct that as soon as possible, because this is a great field. You know what I'm saying? Like, this can change how you live. You know what I'm saying? Like, going back to Dekira, he was able to take some of his siblings out on vacation, and his little nieces, his god sisters, you know what I'm saying, out to these places because he had got this job, And then also, I feel like adding our, like, the third point is adding our, like, sauce to the tech field. I just feel like, everybody has a unique perspective, a different upbringing. So you could add, as a result of that, you can add different things. You could add different perspectives and catch certain things, like you looking out for, you know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of having unique skills that's not, present in other groups that's in the tech field. And I really believe that, like, we need to encourage more people, because, like, there's a place for us, and you don't have to switch up. You could still be you. You can, like, but you have to be good as well. You can't be not performing as well, because that's not an excuse. It doesn't matter if you white, black, Asian, you know what I'm saying? If you're not performing, no bueno. You feel me? So those are like my top three.
Great. It's awesome. I like all three of those. So kind of to go back a couple notches. So can you tell us a little bit about your job search after graduation or during, your time at University of Buffalo? What made you decide to land at Lockheed Martin?
I got you. So when I first heard about Lockheed Martin, it was from a program called En-ROADS. So I found out about En-ROADS through another program, which was C-STEP. C-STEP is, an organization that helps out minority groups get into STEM and help facilitate them, like, and help build the bridge between resources, internships, research, right? So freshman year, I was, going through some remedial classes, but I also took some prerequisites, and I was able to, I needed to take a math class in the summertime. So that means I didn't have an opportunity to have an internship like how these companies want. Sophomore year, I, went to a NSBE event, and actually that was my junior year. So sophomore year, I was just looking for internships, didn't get any callback. So I had to do research, and I did research with LSAM. So LSAM, that was a great opportunity because that's when I met my professor, Dr. Mastronarde. He was a very cool dude, and it kind of gave me the interest of, like, the communication aspect of electrical engineering. So that was a great project, and I captured it on my resume, but I didn't really express it, like, how and what I was doing. So going to the conference in my junior year at NSBE, I was showing these employers my resume. They wasn't vibing with it. So I was disappointed. I was like, felt like a failure. So I did the research again, no internship experience, right? But what I did is I learned from that. And I made sure I went to the career services and helped me with my resume. And I actually got everything that I did documented in a nice way where it connected to employers. So that senior year, I went to a SHEP conference, the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers conference. I'm not Hispanic, but the whole point is diverse groups going to the conference. So that's one tip, you know, navigate. And you could go to the Asian conference is SASE, Society Asian, my bad. I don't know the acronym, but I went to the I went to the conference and everybody had their slots for interviews already. So majority of the employers already had their things booked up. So I was like, oh no, this is happening again. But then I noticed something that Lockheed Martin was having a resume workshop. So I was like, I know that they're not trying to help people resume. That's another screening tool. So being intuitive, I went there with my nice resume and the lady looked at it and was like, oh yeah, can you come here? Yeah, go on this line over there. So I went on the line and I was able to secure an interview. So now I had one interview and my foot was in the door. And they tell you that they don't have no interviews like slots open, but going through those back channels, they do. So I did the interview. The first one, I bombed it. I really did bad. It was horrible. But I was honest. So like when he asked me a question and I did not know, I said, I know this, but I don't know what you asking. So
Were
he
these
passed me.
technical? We're
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Were these technical questions?
yeah.
Okay.
This was a technical question, and it was
Okay.
more software based. And
Okay.
I touched software surface level, but I didn't go in depth like how he wanted me for a position. So he said, but you know what? I like you and I must recommend you to somebody. So he recommended me to a systems engineer. At that point, I don't know what a systems engineer is. I'm like, okay, I see that he didn't like, uh, clip the situation and he let me connect with another person. So me and her connected off of volunteering. And because I was doing like volunteer work in college in my senior year, I was helping young kids with their science projects, different like math, like their math homework. So I was like a helper for like kids and we did different things. And then also I used to go to a school and like host STEM like projects like to third graders, fourth graders. So I was talking about that, but I was weaving in my experiences, in terms of like what she wanted as a systems engineer. So we connected well. She told me apply to this job. I applied. I got an interview, and I had so much confidence because she one thing she told me was like, just be you. Like as long as you show you and you explain yourself well, I know that you're gonna get in there. So I came in there with a whole bunch of confidence. And then I went through the meeting and I was also taking the principal for interviewing class in my senior year. So they brought in hiring managers and gave us assessments on what's your personality type. And so I knew myself. I knew what environment I like to work best in. So did the interview, got an internship. I was going to go for my master's, but I realized, the opportunity to work and get that hands-on experience trumped the master's, and also they would pay for the master's. So I canceled my master's and said, okay, I'm going to look for work. So, and then I became a contractor, and then I skipped over a part. After the internship, I had got a job offer, but it was for the next year. So I had the internship in 2019 and I had a job offer in 2020. So in 2019, I became a contractor at Lockheed in Syracuse, and then I just essentially transferred my job offer in Owego, New York, to Syracuse. So that's my path to getting into Lockheed.
That's an awesome story, man. That's dope. So tell me a little bit about what your job title as system engineer entails. Like, what does your day-to-day look like?
Okay. So as a systems engineer, you could be either two, it's like broken into two sections. It's like the system engineering designing and then like integration and test. So when I was in design work, I was designing the communication system for a like for a system essentially, and how it would work and everything. So my day to day would be I would come in, we'll have a scrum meeting to understand like what is the block it, like any blocks that anybody have. We would make sure the objectives for the day, for the week is discussed. And we will have like a nice feedback loop. Okay, if you need help, talk to Sam. If you need this information, talk to Mike. So you would work individually, coordinate in between different, you know, engineers. So you will talk to software engineer, you will talk to a hardware engineer, you will talk to other systems engineer to get a solution that makes sense. And that's the key. You have to talk to all the stakeholders, because if you present an idea that you did not talk with everybody, you're going to have a lot of rebuttal. You're not going to have support in these meetings. You're going to have a lot of friction in terms of, nah, don't do this, do that. Versus if you go and you talk to everybody, this is what I'm thinking, you work through it and you get everybody consensus. Now you in a more like, you have a higher chance of your idea being solidified. So that's the design aspect. And then now I went into the integration and test. So you have a finished product that you have to make sure is tested and it's good for the customer. So during that testing and, you know, making sure it's good, you are doing various tests, you know, you making sure that it's passing, you know, the steps. If anything comes up that needs to be corrected, you correct it. Anything that you need in terms of like support, like replacing hardware, you have to coordinate with techs, and because that's the tech's job to touch the hardware, not the engineer's job. So it's really isolated. And then I went to a different program, still integration and test. And this is not a finished program. This is more from the ground up. So now I'm touching the hardware. Now I'm playing with the settings on these different devices and making sure that they work and integrating it and coming up with the, like the, what is it, the standard moving forward. So the production test. And then now it's like, I think that's like really more fulfilling because I'm able to like create something new and we all learning. So that's essentially what I do.
Awesome. So I know you're a little early in your career right now. Would you consider yourself early in your career or
I'll say yeah, because I'm
early, right?
yeah 2.5 years now.
Okay, yeah. So how has being a Black man in the tech field affected your experience, if it has at all?
Honestly, I feel like it has opened up doors like this, right? I'm
Okay.
able to like share my story because it can connect with somebody. It can help inspire somebody. It can help, you know, give somebody hope, right? And I think that we need hope because it's just so much, you know, distractions and, you know, so much like, you know, dysfunction within our community that I feel like needs to be remedied. And I think also like when it comes to like buying a house as well, it was like a little bit more easier in terms of like talking to bankers and engaging with them. It was like, yo, yeah, it was like a certain respect that you got with saying, yo, I'm a systems engineer. It was like, oh, word. And you work for Lockheed. So it's like, I guess it gives you, or it gave me like a little bit more like respect when engaging with people. And like, and that's a good feeling, you know?
That's powerful, man. It's like for years, being a Black male or just being Black, it's like a disadvantage. But now, honestly, just from my perspective and everything you just said, it seems like it's starting to be an advantage when you're going to get a house or something like that, especially when you have that high title or that experience. You're looked upon as like, I don't know. That's an interesting perspective for sure.
Like you have your credentials
Right,
intact.
right.
So I would say like as well, I think like also relating to other people that's in the field, like that it's like a certain type of connection. Like, yo, like we relate heavy because everybody, majority around us is like white males. So it's like when we see each other, even at my job, it's like, hey, what's your name? My name is this. It's like that connection. Like, I see you, you see me. Like, let's make sure like we stay in contact. And I feel like that built my network because I feel like when I first came to Lockheed, I wasn't really engaging with my coworkers and stuff like that. It's because I didn't feel like we had anything in common outside of the work. But then when I started seeing people like myself, you know, in the workplace, it made me more open to hang out with people outside of work. So
Awesome, man. All right. How do you think we get more, and you kind of already hit on this, but I want you to expand. How do you think we get more young, diverse individuals, not only interested in tech, but also opportunities into like the tech field?
I'll say like as early as possible. I remember in the 6th grade, I was introduced to a robotics class. I really liked that class. It was like, it made so much sense to me. I was like one of the best ones in the project, getting my robot to go through a maze within like the fastest, like, the fastest time. And like, I wish I would have had that in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, and beyond, because I knew that that was something that was interesting. So I feel like having that introduced to people, even if they like it or not, just introduce them and have a catalog where they could choose from electives, you know what I'm saying? And so that they could have that opportunity to be exposed to it, almost like gym class, like something that they can, you know, choose to do as an elective, So I would say like early and like just not a one-off type of thing, but continuous contact with STEM activities and, robotics programs like hackathons and just continuously provide those opportunities for all age groups.
Catch them early. That's the time to do it. Most receptive to all that information. Okay, one last question, then I'm going to open up the floor for everyone to ask questions. What advice would you have for others looking to set off in like a similar path as you?
I would say just continuously ask questions and also seek out people that is in this field. An easy one is like LinkedIn, reach out to people like, hey, I'm such and such, I'm really interested in this field. What is some advice that you would want to, give a person like me? Like, so seeking out these like people that's there. I would say coming to events like this with Center State, because they present a whole bunch of, people in STEM of color, and you can like connect with them afterwards. I would say also like going to community events, like making sure like you are tuned into like what organizations are doing, like, because just seeing from what the 100 is doing to Center State and other people that I'm hearing, it's just like there's so much resources out here to get people into the STEM. So just like you have to seek it, but at the same time, it's on us professionals to expose people to that as well. So
Well said. Okay, thank you. Now that's all I had for you. Now I'd like to open up the floor for any questions you may have based on everything he just talked about. You can drop it in the chat or you can come off mute and ask away.
Susan.
I had a question. And as you mentioned, a little while ago, that it took you a little while to feel at home and comfortable at Lockheed,
Mhm.
because there weren't that many people that looked like you, and you didn't feel like you had that sense of unity at first. One thing that the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee at Center State we're talking about doing is implementing a mentorship program at Center State, sort of to address that same exact situation. We're all kind of siloed sometimes. It's easy to feel isolated. The onboarding process can be clunky. What would your recommendations be? As you know, we're just thinking this through, so we're at the inception stage of the best way to implement a mentorship in a way that's really intentional and effective, and not just to say we're doing it.
I would say like talking to like either like the HR departments and having them distribute these opportunities to be a mentor, because I feel like people will want to do it, but they need to be exposed to it first. So I feel like talking with them and saying, hey, can you distribute this? Like, this would be a great initiative to get people. And I realize is like, when you do stuff like that, they want something in return. So like, try to make it like beneficial. Like maybe this kid is from this area, and if you are having high attrition rates and they have a family here, right? They are most likely to stay in this area because they don't want to leave their family. So something like that to like make them say, okay, let me distribute this and push this, like not just one time, but like once every month or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, thank you.
No problem.
100 Black Men, I see you have your hand up. You can ask that. What's your name?
My name is Ali Rahman. I'm the Vice President of 100 Black Men of Syracuse here. And I'd like to thank Nasiah for coming on and dropping the knowledge. And certainly we appreciate him being a member of the 100 Black Men of Syracuse. Your story is very unique in that, you were able to overcome a number of different barriers. But I noticed from your story that there were a number of people that had a very positive influence in directing you and moving you towards a path that was successful for you. And I see in the stumbling block in our neighborhoods, in the schools that we serve over in the South Side and in the city, that those types of dedicated people willing to guide the youth and guide our students are not really there. And so the exposure for the young people, in terms of the quality of some of the programs that you were able to maneuver through are not those types of programs that these kids have an opportunity to take advantage of. So my question is, knowing this, what would you think would be the most effective tool to really facilitate getting kids into that type of path, versus, what can the 100 Black Men do more of in terms of guiding those kids into the same type of path that you were able to go through?
I would say like providing tutoring for like anyone who is struggling like in school, specifically math and science, as well as English as well. I would say the program with the ACRS was, like a unique one, but we have EOP. So like reaching out to all the EOP directors and all of like the SUNYs and even HEOP, because I know Marcus was part of HEOP, right? And having like, them come and like speak like, hey, look, this is a path to college. And, this is what you should be doing, like leading up, and also supplying SAT prep, and like just educational support. For the mentor part, like how you were saying, Ali, you're right on that. And like having, people like myself, I know my friend Tyrone is here, who is an engineer, and like other people, like getting like the young people who's a little bit more closer in age to them to like talk like, hey, look, and be real with them, like in terms of like sharing like numbers and like having a conversation, but at the same time establish like certain what is it, like criteria between that relationship, and having them like just understand like everybody is like busy. I'm here to like help as well, but I want you to show up as well. So I feel like, but in those situations, everybody is like trying to figure out what's best for them. Like you want to provide, these opportunities, but like sometimes like you want to get paid. You want to get paid, So if like, even if it's a small stipend, like I know Center State is doing what, like 500, 250 or something like that for the mentorship, like type of thing where it's like, okay, like people naturally don't like doing things for free, So it's just like, I understand the cause is great and the representation is amazing, but like somebody want to feel like they have some type of monetary or some type of like return for their time, because we could be doing such and such, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hope I
And
answered your question.
just for a follow-up, I'm just wondering, for the younger kids, how do you think that we could be more impactful in terms of touching these younger people, the kids that are like coming out of elementary school, going into middle school? How can we be more impactful in terms of changing their mindsets? Because, a lot of the kids, they're like, math, no, school, I'm not interested. How do we get them? How do we stimulate them? And I'm thinking that we can do that by exposing them to more things.
Mhm.
Certainly it's the path, but we need to relate to these kids in one way or another. And providing, you mentioned that robotics class was something that you wish that would go on for like 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. We offer it a few weeks in the summer.
Mhm.
Getting those types of programs into the school is a little different. They always cry back with we don't have the money, we can't provide these types of things. And the after school program seems to be the most that we could do. But
Mhm.
to be willing to, mentor some kids in robotics or something to that effect?
Yeah, like no doubt, and it's like recruiting like my other fellow like engineers, I see like Dekir, Tyrone is here. Like I know that, you know, that's something that they want to do as well, To answer your question about how can we get the younger kids, I remember when I was working for like the after school program that was facilitating like the STEM activities. I think having like something like that and having like a science fair, something that they could like build up to, like they have multiple like contacts, like, okay, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, okay, we have a competition, like the kids are competitive and they want to win certain prizes, and give them like incentives, like in terms of like, okay, you do this program, we trying to win, like, and then that's when we could come in. That's what they had us doing, like the college kids, like coming in, assisting different groups, going, rotating, like, hey, look, this is what you got to do. Hey, this is what you got to do. And then sometimes having a STEM fair where we set up like about 5 different tables, 6 different tables, right? And it's different activities each table, and having them go from one table, all right, go to the next one, everybody rotate, and the person, like some bingo type of thing, maybe, where they go to workstation, they do a STEM activity, they get a mark, and then the person who get the bingo, you know what I mean? Like 3 in a row, you get this. So it's like, oh, that was cool. I like that one, but I couldn't finish it. And then have a debrief where like, yo, this is how you do them, maybe.
Great questions. Tyrone, you had a question? Come off mute and ask.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first off, great presentation, Nas. I really learned a lot about you, even though we had a bunch of conversations before. But I also wanted to know, I know you went through some challenges getting to where you are right now. I wanted to know at what point you felt like you were the most battle tested, where you had to really overcome it, and how did you go about overcoming that challenge?
I feel like when I went to transit tech, you from transit, like I felt so like, I don't know, like I wasn't like good enough, you know? Like I felt like I failed. Like in middle school, I had like a 94 GPA and I had a 4 on the math, but yet I couldn't get into none of my top schools. I couldn't get into my specialized high school. So I just felt like poop, you know, like, yo, I'm going to this hood school. I don't want to be here. Like I was upset. And then I said, you know what? Sometimes it's like, you know, blessings and certain like situations. So at first when I came in, like of transit, I had like a 73 GPA. Like it was really bad, you know, because I didn't really like, I don't know, not connected, but I wasn't taking it serious. But then after that, I was going like hard. Like I knew I had 1 year where I could mess up because I heard the advice from somewhere, like probably a guidance counselor or something. But then after that, I was like, I need to focus. And I'm, you know, focus. And I was able to get 95, 96, and then 98 GPA in like the following semesters and years, you know? So that wrote, like raised my GPA to that 91. So I was like, I feel like that's when I was most like tested. I would say the second time was when I went from high school to college. Like the college classes are different, man. And you know it. Like it's like it was like a different step and like a different, you know, approach in terms of I couldn't study 2 days before. I needed to study 3 weeks or 2 weeks before so that I could get the grades that I need to. So I remember the first few tests I took in college, I got slapped in the face and I was like, oh, this is college. Like you can't just BS it, you know? So I would feel like I feel like that was my second time, like my freshman year. But I had a good group. I had the support system. So I was quickly able to turn it around. I had a 2.7 GPA in my freshman year. But then I turned it around and continued to gain momentum. And I finished with a 3.3.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Those are great questions, by the way. Hold it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right. If we don't have any other questions, I have the survey link that I'm going to drop in the chat. Let me pull it up. Sorry. If you all could open that, you don't need to complete it right now, but if you can just at least open it so it's in your browser and complete at your earliest convenience, that would be helpful to us. Let me share my screen. Okay, so you can visit our Center State CEO website to learn a little bit more about the COVID-19 resources that we have available. Also, the same place where you register for this event, you can find more of our speaker series events. We have the Care, if he's still on here, he's going to be our next speaker in June. So make sure to register for that and hear a little bit more about him. He also works at Lockheed Martin. We also have a coding apprenticeship. So if you or anybody you know is interested in a new career in software development, we have a 12-month coding apprenticeship. We're specifically looking for Black and brown people and women interested in the software field, and they'll be matched with employers for opportunity for a permanent position upon completion. So looking for applicants, looking for mentors, looking for subject matter experts. If you apply for any, if you are qualified for any of those, just make sure to reach out to me. You can also follow us on GenNext315 on Instagram to get updates and reach out to me personally. This is my email and web at Center State CEO. Nas, I want to thank you. This is an amazing event. You had a lot of great insights to individuals.
Yeah.
A lot of spunk. You got a lot of swag with everything that you're saying, bro. So continue being you in this technology industry. We really need that. And I appreciate everyone who showed out.
So Marcus,
Yes.
before we close out, right? I
Yep.
feel like we need to coordinate resources. So the 100 is here,
Yep.
Jessica, you here, Center State, and like
Absolutely.
other organizations, because I'm hearing different things from like different people have different initiatives, and it's STEM initiatives, right?
Yep.
So why can't we just like all coordinated you know, where like, okay, the 100 have it in the summer, right? Now I know this other dude, he do it during the school year. Okay, we have, you know, Center State, they gonna have something over here. So instead of everybody trying to, you know, do their own thing, I mean, you can still do your own thing, but just have like a flow, because the people that do the robotics for the 100 is going to most likely want to do the robotics for somebody doing it in the fall, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that we need to like really understand what all these organizations is doing, these individuals, and really coordinate, because, you know, one big move together is going to help the city of Syracuse, which needs some life and hope. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
well said.
honestly, I just really believe that, you know, we gotta really change like the people mindset, and it starts with the pockets, you know what I'm saying? Like mindset, money, you know what I'm saying? It goes hand in hand, but like
Absolutely.
we need to get our people like connected to these STEM jobs. So that's just my final statement.
I appreciate that, man. I agree. We're all working on similar things, but we're working in silo. When we need to come together, together we'll be more of a force. So, Ali, I appreciate you showing up. I would definitely love to connect. I'm connected to a few people over at 100, but can personally
well,
sit down and talk to you.
100 is a member of the Center State, so definitely we were very open to you know, working with you guys in terms of maybe facilitating some of our programs. You know, we're connecting with the kids, and we've got several, you know, programs going on this year. Our Animate Boot Camp is booting up. We're taking applications now, but
Okay.
definitely use some assistance in getting our robotics going again, and some of the different programs that we have. So definitely, Marcus, great job. I appreciate what you're doing. Nas, you know, great job. Thanks for dropping the knowledge. We appreciate it. And we just need to spread this out a little bit more, you know, get it out,
Right.
move more people with it. And I think it really could be effective in terms of turning some people around and opening up some doors and opening up some minds.
Agree. Well said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then also too, like tapping into like the funding, you know, because like at my job, there's like two different funds. You have the corporation funding, you know, donations and stuff. And then you have something called a federated fund, where employees contribute a portion of their check, and you go to that board specifically, and you could get funding for activities, right? But when you asking for these fundings, you need to be able to add value to them, you know? So I know the 100 is already connecting with a lot of corporations, and they getting donations, but like, you know, just information for like you, Marcus, as well. Like, say we need more funding for this economic, like what you're doing, right?
Right. Right.
And because, you know, Chase is the only sponsor, right? But what if we get Lockheed, or, you know,
Yeah.
or SRC, where we could have this continuously support and funding? Like, okay, what happens when the funding go out?
Right. Absolutely.
It stops, right? And people,
Agree.
my bad, and people of Syracuse feel like it's programs that happen like this and it's funded, but then it stopped, and then there's no connection, right? I was talking to a few Syracuse people where they just feel like it's not going to be long lasting, because some people may not be ready for today. They may not be ready for it 3 years from now, but they may be ready in 5 years.
Right.
So having that available for people, and having them doing it on their time when it shouldn't be like that, right?
Mhm.
Still have that opportunity there. So we need to secure the funding.
Definitely.
Get some
Well
grant.
said, bro.
All right, man.
All right. I appreciate everyone. Enjoy your evening. For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Mom. I love you. I can't hear you, Mom. You muted.
I say, you see, I'm still here. Love you, baby. I'm proud of you.
I
You
know.
did a great job. You raised a nice young man, Monique. My mother's name is Monique, by the way, too.
Oh,
You
word.
know, Marcus, yes. We know our boys. I'm so proud of y'all gentlemen. It
Yeah.
just makes me smile and, spread the love and, give that exposure to other young people of color because,
Definitely.
they're geniuses,
Yep.
like, for example, I work for transit and I see some of these young guys, how they know how to manipulate a Metro card to get funds.
Right.
And some of them that I'm able to talk to, I was like, why you not in school? Why are you doing that? Because that to me, that's like some genius, how to manipulate a card.
Mm-hmm.
And if they was to apply it positively, they wouldn't be doing that,
That's a transferable skill into something that can really make you a lot of money, literally. So
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So, I'm really proud of,